Pioneer. There she is.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good, except our internet is like lousy right now. It's so slow. I just had to switch over to our AT&T backup data line. But I'm here now.
Well, welcome. I know sometimes I noticed in Martinez, when it's raining or when it's windy, which it is at my house, the internet just conks out.
Well, ours is it's a private provider out here in the boondocks, and when everybody's on it, it goes real slow. So it was so slow it wouldn't connect. But I'm here now, and
it looks good.
I have something nice to say about AT&T, which is rare.
AT&T for the win today for you.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing good. We're really, really busy. I think it was at the board meeting the other day. Somebody said this is all like inventing the airplane mid-flight, and that's kind of where we are now. It's figuring it out. Every single time somebody lobs a ball, we figure out if we can hit it or not.
Yeah. I know. I feel the same. Kevin is drinking Sierra Nevada, a Chico beer. Alicia knows it. We went before. Awesome.
I'm drinking raspberry iced tea.
Raspberry iced tea. Did you make it yourself?
I sure did.
Ooh.
It's Tarani syrups. You just make a big pot of iced tea and pour some raspberry syrup in it.
Oh.
It's not exactly right. Good. It's good.
That sounds good. I love the Tarani syrups. They add just the right amount of flavor.
The best one is the combination blackberry mango.
Ooh. See,
so
guys,
how are you doing? How are you?
You'll learn about the Pioneer and you'll learn about drink tips.
There you go.
I'm good. I'm good. We were just catching up in the chat. We were seeing what everyone was drinking. Kevin wants to know, where did you hike today? Tamara's an avid hiker.
I didn't hike today, unfortunately. I went yesterday. Yesterday we did the amphitheater in Morgan Territory Preserve.
Oh.
Yeah. Excuse me.
You had some decent weather for that then.
Oh, it was gorgeous. That's a gorgeous hike. I don't know if anybody's taken it, but it's the trailhead that's right off on Morgan Territory. So you have to park on the shoulder and go up from there. Excuse me, my allergies are awful today. And but it's about a 5.5 mile loop, and it goes up and over the top of the ridge, drops down into a rock formation that's called the amphitheater. And it's, as I understand it, where the tribes used to periodically meet to find husbands for their daughters and and trade and exchange things and buy horses. So, and you can really see it when you're there. It's just a big rock formation. It's an amphitheater, and across the little meadow is another formation where everybody sat. It's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
It is, yeah.
All right, so everyone that's on, there's your perfect hike recommendation. Tamara hikes all the time. She's an avid hiker. So if you need recommendations, you can always go to her to find where you want to go.
Right now, it's where you can park.
That's true. That's very true.
That's the limiting factor. There's a lot of places I want to go, but you can't park. So,
Tamara, you need to lead a local hiking trip for the chamber. I think that's a great idea. She could be our personal tour guide.
As long as it's an easy one.
Well, again, welcome everyone on the chat and in the call. If you have any questions, and I'm going to say this throughout, if you have any questions that you have for Tamara, go ahead and put it in the chat and we'll get to it. But for those who don't know, Tamara Steiner is here with us. She is the head honcho of the Concord Clayton Pioneer. She is a Spitfire. She gets all the information. So if you have any local news or questions about local news, she's the one to go to. So Tamara, you're obviously, you love the newsprint industry, and that's what you've been doing. So can you share with us, how did you get into the newspaper industry? Has that been something that you've done your entire life?
My dad worked for the Richmond Independent, which was a daily in Richmond. He was circulation manager. So I grew up, I mean, he started there when he was 10 with a paper route. He retired in 1984 as circulation manager. And so I grew up with, black ink everywhere and the smell of it, and standing in the press room and watching the paper. It was hypnotic. You stand there and watch those papers come down off the conveyor It really could hypnotize you even at 5 years old. And I've done all of the parts of the paper. I've done the writing, I've done reporting, I've done newsletter, I've done, excuse me, sold advertising, sales. The only thing I had not done was the technical stuff. And I was in for a surprise there because I thought all you did was like type it all in and then email it to your printer.
And then poof, it appeared.
And then poof, it appears in a big truck in front of the post office. But that's not quite the way it happened. So, but how I actually made the decision, the Pioneers, we owned a business in Pleasant Hill in the executive suite. We had master lease on 44 offices, and we provided office space and telephone service, word processing, conference center, conference rooms. It got very, very technologically intensive, and it was a very small staff. And so I was the one that went to the 2-week training to get certified on the voicemail and to get certified on the phone system and to learn how to program the internet, the T1 connections. And the downside, what's exciting, it was fun, but the downside is every time the damn thing alarmed at 11 or 12 at night, I was the one that got in the car in my pajamas and went down to PC to reset a system. And it got to be just not so much fun. So that's, and I'd done all these parts, and I used to see the Pioneer come in the mail, and it was a small little newspaper with I don't know if anybody's here that knew Harry Green, but I mean, there were big typos in headlines. It was pretty sketchy. And I told Bob, I want to do that. I want to wear jeans to work. I want to take my dog, and I want to do that. And it took me about 1.5 years to convince him that I really was serious and that I wasn't crazy, although, you know, I am, but made him see the light. And he said, well, you know, make the guy an offer. And I said, no, you make the guy an offer because I want it too bad and I'll lay down for it. So he went down with kind of a lowball offer to Brentwood, met with Harry Green, came home with a set of keys.
Wow.
I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I'm serious. He was out the door, I think, before Bob left. And we had a newspaper.
Just like that. And how long ago was that?
We're in our 18th year.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's, yeah. I learned how to do it as we went. I didn't have anybody that knew what they were doing, and all the stuff that we got from Harry, the files and everything were useless to us because they were so outdated. They didn't run on our software and they were garbage anyway. We had to recreate everything. So we kind of just, you know, actually our first graphic designer didn't know what she was doing either, but we didn't know that. And she walked us through how to design a page and how to do all that. And we found out later, not one of us had a clue how we were what we were doing. We learned on the fly.
Wow.
And we put out our first paper 30% ahead of projections.
And how long did it take from that point that you purchased the paper to putting out that first issue?
We bought it in April, and our first issue was May 9th.
Wow,
No,
quick.
the end of March. We bought it at the end of March. We bought it, yeah, the third week in March. And our office was still down in Pleasant Hill, and 3 of us were working out of a 150 square foot office. And the first issue rolled up in front of the post office on May 9th. It was the Art and Wine. Mighty Fine Art and Wine was the headline.
You really didn't miss a beat then. You purchased it, and then really you only skipped 1 month.
It was twice a month then, and so we skipped 2 issues.
Wow.
Yeah, we did it. We did the paper twice a month when we started opening, every 2 weeks.
You ran with it.
Yeah, yeah, and it looked fun. It was really it was different than anything I'd ever done because I always worked my tail. I've always worked. I've worked forever, but I'd walk out. It was always, you know, mental business, thinking business. So I get out at the end of the day at 10, you know, after 10 hours, what in the hell did I do all day? I have nothing to show for it. And that one, Jill Betticray started the paper with me. And on that one, we did our 2 weeks, and we had a big truck roll up in front of the post office in downtown Clayton with 5,000 copies of our newspaper. And we knew what we'd been doing. It was very clear. And I know that every single time the truck rolls up with the papers, that's what I've been doing.
That's great. Wow. So Kevin said, how long ago? You said that was 18 years ago around?
It was May 9th, 2000 something, 18.
Okay.
It was, we're
2002,
in
right?
our 18th year. So May 9th, it was beginning our 18th year. So whatever year that was, I'm not good at math.
2002.
2002.
Wow. So you just had your anniversary too. Happy anniversary.
Oh, that's right. We did.
You just had it.
Wow, we did. Yeah. May 9th was our, well, things have changed a lot and it sort of flew by.
And we'll get to that too, even just in the short amount of time we've been shelter in place, that shift.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you move to then your Clayton office?
We were in the office by July.
Okay.
Lynn French was one of our first advertisers. She came over from the other paper, and Lynn her office was down in Walnut Creek, and she'd been looking for office space in Clayton. And I happened to notice that the space next to Ed's in the village shopping center,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that the tenant had moved out. It was a toy store, I think. He had moved out and it was empty. And so I told Lynn about it and I said, should we, let's check it out. Well, it was available, but it was bigger space than either one of us needed. So we rented it together. She took one side and I took the other side. And now I am back home. I'm back in Lynn's office, right? She's in the meantime, we needed bigger space when we started the Concordian. She needed bigger space because she was adding agents. So we moved around the side of the building and we took 1,000 square feet. She took both offices and opened it all up. And we operated like that for a few years. Since then, her agents mainly are working at home. She doesn't need the space. I don't need the space. I was in there 90% of the time by myself. So then said, why don't you just come home? And I said, okay.
Sure.
So I have a cubicle in the side of her office, right in the front, our name on the door, our awning on the front of the building. And I'm looking right at the same tree I was looking at 17 years ago.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. I love it. I love being back there. And I work at home most of the time, but I meet clients there and I'm in and out of the office.
Sure.
And Lynn and I are good friends. So it just, it feels good to be there.
Now, Tamara, you mentioned the Concordian. Can you take us through how you shifted from Clayton Pioneer, the Concordian?
We never shifted. And I was sitting in Todos Santos Park one day between appointments when we just had Clayton at that time. And Clayton is a really, really small town. And it's really hard sometimes to scare up a front page. I mean, it's really hard. We'll be sitting there on Thursday saying, wow, anybody got anything for the front page?
Right.
And I was sitting in the park one day and just killing time. And my ear started listening to the voices around me. I am not a linguist, but I could count 5 different languages.
Wow.
Right around where I was standing, people talking, the kids talking, passing. And I thought, wow, this is really, really a lot more interesting than downtown Clayton, which I love downtown Clayton, but it was so different and so much texture and so much, just texture, just things happening, things to write about, things to look at, things to go to. There was no way I was going to have to scare up a front page at the last minute. And at that time, I had just met Andre Ginsberger, and he was looking for something to do as well. And he wanted to start a paper. And I said, well, why don't we do the Concordian? And actually it was his name. We struggled with a name and couldn't come up with one. About 3 a.m, I got a text that said Concordian.
That's the best time to think.
Yeah. So, and I think our first issue was the big guitar thing, the music, we broke the records.
Yes.
For as many guitars in total sense. Yeah. So that was how we got going on the Concordian. We did that for about 19 months, and then the recession hit, and I have never seen the phone stop ringing so fast or things dry up so fast. And it was still really fun to do, but I didn't know when we took over the paper, when we started the paper, I did not understand, and nor did Andre tell me, that he needed a full-time income.
Okay.
And there was no way that a fledgling newspaper or the Concordian or any other newspaper was going to throw off enough income to support a family of 4 and me,
Right.
or even give me a dime. So it was a struggle those first few months. He was able to pull some money out, and we struggled through it. And then the recession hit, and I was doing all of it on both papers, and it wasn't fun, and it was not going to throw off enough for both of us. So
Right.
at that point, I just said, "Here, Andre, here's the password, go."
Right.
And then he had it for a while, and then he moved to Idaho.
Right. And that was only a few years ago, because when I
Right.
first started with the Chamber, the Concordian was still in existence.
Right.
So that was probably 2015, 2016, maybe, when he moved.
No, it was before that, because he, from Idaho, then started the Gazette.
Okay.
But he moved to Idaho, and it was a good move for Andre and a good move for his family, without a doubt. But I told him, "Dad, you can't do a community newspaper from 2 states away."
No.
And he said, "Oh, yes, I can." I got an email. I said, "You can't do it, Andre, so you better be looking for something else, because you can't, it won't sustain unless you are a community newspaper like we do. It's not just about the community. You have to be of the community."
Yeah.
You have to be there, boots on the ground, camera in hand, shaking hands, going to meetings, talking to people. That's how we get our stories, and that's how we get our ads.
So speaking of that, I'm going to skip a couple questions ahead,
Sure.
and I'll go back to
I
the
don't
other
have
ones.
my list, so I don't know what you're going to ask.
That's perfect. And Sidegate Brewing, I'll get to your question too in there. I think Tamara would be great to answer that. But you were just saying it, that you have to be in front of people. You have your camera at every event. Sometimes I don't know how you go to everything, because I feel like we try to go to everything, but I see you at everything too. So how do you have the energy for that?
No, I've mastered time travel. That's my best secret.
You have.
I don't know. I just do it. Energy level is, I'm actually an introvert. I test and pass every personality inventories as an introvert.
Really?
Barely. It's kind of it's kind of almost there on the cusp, or on the cross.
Yeah.
But I think how I do it is I get a sufficient amount of alone time, and that's partly the hiking, and that's where I recharge. And I can come back from a 6-mile hike, and my legs are screaming at me, and I'm on the computer,
Right.
because I've got ideas, and I've got stuff going, and I've got.
That's where you process everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And recharge.
Right. Yeah, William, I see Tamara everywhere too. It's funny. We'll be at one event, and then we'll see her at the next event. And we were like, "We just saw you." How did you do that? And how did you beat us?
Right now, I just literally, I forget. I'll take the pictures, and when I get home, I'll go through the photos and figure out where I was when I took that one. And sometimes I've had to ask you, right?
Hey, I need this picture. Totally great. We got it.
Yeah, right. And who's in this, Melissa? Who's that man?
Sidegate Brewing, you were talking about you bought the newspaper, and you started 18 years ago. What recommendations do you have for starting a new business?
Don't. You mean a newspaper?
In general.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's businesses that, run with it now because it's a good time. And there's businesses that take a certain level of insanity to even think about.
Mm-hmm.
Community newspapers take a high level of insanity to even think about. We're trying to figure out day by day how to sustain it. And this Monday, I belong to a couple of organizations, and I get their newsletters, and both newsletters reported on Monday that the previous week, 5-day period, the previous week in California, 33 newspapers shut their doors.
Oh, wow.
Including Chico.
Oh, no.
Chico.
Alicia, did you hear about that? My best friend Alicia, she lives in Chico.
Yeah, the Chico
And she
News.
was an English major. She got her master's in English.
Yep, you go to their website now, and it says, in fancy words, we're done.
Oh no, that's so sad.
And I know, I've been in the business a while. I know a lot of those publishers, because we exchange ideas. We're not competing for the same advertisers. So,
Right.
that's really my resource, are the other papers, the Community Focus and the La Miranda
Mm-hmm.
News, and Denise at the Valley Sentinel. We're not competing for the same pool of advertisers, so we're free to corroborate and start projects together and
Right.
exchange information. And all of us are in the same boat right now.
Now, you've shifted how you've been doing your stories. You've gone completely digital right now. Your April issue was
April and May are digital.
Right.
We'll be back in print in June.
Okay,
At
good
least
to know.
for June. We don't know after that. It's still literally day by day.
Right, which is kind of everything that we're doing right now. It's just taking it day by day.
Hour by hour.
Yeah.
If I go through my emails for a day, I can see, 2 or 3 different position shifts in a 10-hour period.
So how has that been for you? I mean, you were a local newspaper that got delivered to doorsteps. So what's that shift been like for you?
Is William in the room?
Yes.
William knows that I struggled and agonized for 3 or 4 years over this whole digital shift, knowing I'd have to do it and not wanting to. I was afraid of it because it's a brand new business.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just doing a newspaper online. This whole thing is completely different. Everything about it is different. The ad sales, the processing, the kinds of stories that we do. We basically have just been, since we had a good website, but it wasn't built to handle what we've been pushing at it for the last 6 weeks. So Pete Pete is awesome. My staff, I've got the best people in the world. But Pete has been, as he's doing his work, the stuff he's doing, he's been kind of restructuring the website behind the scenes, and kind of figuring out, what are we going to do here? Who are we? What are we going to be when we grow up? When you do digital, it's very tempting to fall into the breaking news thing. You got to be the first one to say it. You got to be the first. Got to get it online. You got to get this up before anybody. And we have to exercise discipline with that. I don't want to do breaking news.
Okay.
I do not want to do breaking news because we don't have the resources to verify. And I don't want to be first. I just want to be right. So
that's a good way to go.
Yeah. So we've had to really shift our attitudes and kind of, we're doing that now, kind of apply some discipline to what we're going to post and when we're going to post it, get some kind of a schedule. Mm-hmm. It's going to be good on the other side of this. But it's been a struggle. Pete has been heroic. That's it. He's not watching because he's had enough of me. But the staff has been heroic.
No, I mean, we've even seen it, like just seeing the stories that you're sharing. You guys are on top of your social media. Your website is great. I was just on it before, just browsing to see.
I was going to ask for input. Anybody that looks at our website, if you have any input or suggestions, please share. Please send me an email. Please tell me here, whatever. Because I don't know. I know it. I know what's there. I know where to find stuff.
Right.
But if you're new to the site, is it functional? Does it work for you? Is it pleasing to look at? So you're my audience. Tell me.
All right. We have some homework there for everyone that's on. Tamara, what's your email that everyone can email you at if they do have a suggestion?
It's Tamara@pioneerpublishers.com.
Easy enough. And all that contact information is on the website too.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think like I said, I've seen a great shift in how you've been doing all that, and you guys have adapted really well to it. Do you find that?
I'll pass that along to Pete and Bev and Jay because it's been painful.
So how many staff people do you have helping you?
Well, staff people that I have that are part of my staff, regular, there all the time, is Jay Bedecore. His wife was our first employee. She and I started the paper together, and she was the one that said on that first issue, "Oh my God, this is like giving birth to the same baby," and it was. And then Jay's been there since the start. Pete has been with me about 17 years. I think Darius is a sophomore. He's going to a junior year in college, and he was 3 when it started. Pete was a stay-at-home dad, and then Bev Britton she's a former editor of the Sun's newspaper group, and she's basically retired from that. So she does our copy editing, she does writing, she does copy editing, she does formatting, she sends me back stuff that says, what's this crap? Oh, okay, I better read it before I send it to you. She's very honest and very fast, and she's one of the best editors I've ever seen. And then we have correspondents that handle different kinds of stories at different times. And Lisa Fulmer does arts, and she does art stories, things that are around her. And not just that, she's branched out, she's done some other things as well. Very good writer. And then Kara Navolio, who is a published writer, published author. Kara is wonderful with the features, with soft features. That she's fast, she's wonderful, she connects the people, and I love her stories. And then David Schultz, who's fairly new with us. David has a long background in journalism and reporting. Sometimes I have to remind him what our business is. Our business is advertising.
Right.
Yeah, that's our business, David. Our business is advertising. But he digs in. He gets stuff in way before, sometimes before I've even closed the email that I've assigned it to. Almost too fast sometimes, because then he'll want to revise and revise and revise and revise. But he's very accurate. He's a good writer. He's loves digging into things. He's been an editor of the Martinez News Gazette at one time. His day job, his full-time job is he's a teacher.
Okay.
And he's an excellent writer. He's an excellent researcher and fact checker. So I it's a leap of faith to take something that somebody wrote and fix all the grammar and put the periods where they are and stick it on the page. And you have to have confidence that those facts are right, because I can't go fact check everything.
Right.
And we all make mistakes, but he fixes them and moves on. So that's the staff.
Is that a typical staff size for a newspaper of your size?
No.
Is it smaller?
We're the only community paper, certainly on this side of the tunnel, with a paid professional editorial staff.
Okay.
You look at the other papers and they have their contributed content, which we have a lot of contributed content, and I love contributed content. I love the columns that we have. I love, hiking and lifestyle things that come as contributed content. Or in the case of the garden column, she's the garden girl, our garden girl. It works for R&M Nursery in Clayton. So she's never missed an issue in almost 18 years. And it works well. She has her own followers, our hiker, but we have a core professional editorial staff. And that's, if we can't afford that, if I can't afford that to sustain that, I don't want to do this.
Right.
I don't want to do this, because we put out a good product.
You do.
Yeah, we do.
You do. So you mentioned contributed content.
Right.
So if I had a story that I thought was worthy for the newspaper, how would I go about submitting that, and what's the process of getting it in?
Good. First, you pitch it to me.
Okay.
Because I may not think it's a great idea for a story. That happens sometimes.
Sure.
You pitch it to me, or somebody else may be working on some aspect of that story already.
Right.
Most things that contributors are going to pitch are going to be features. They're going to be a feature or a profile. And those, I love those. But I want professionally written content.
Sure.
So sometimes somebody will pitch a story and they'll send me a story and I don't want to run it. I don't like the writing. I want a sophisticated, lively style. I want people to want to read this thing.
Well,
so
it's your newspaper.
If it's at the top it says the Pioneer is your paper.
Yes.
That's a lie. It's my paper. But if you pitch the story and you pitch it well, just a paragraph, that's all. Why you're going to do the story, why it's good. If I think it's a good story, I might grab it and assign it to a writer. Okay. If you send me a story already written and it's really good, I'll run with it. But if you send me a story that's written and I don't like, not you, because you're a fabulous writer, but if somebody sends me a story that they think is so good and it's 1,500 words and I go to sleep in paragraph 2, I'm not going to run it. And I hate to tell people this isn't good enough for our paper. So it's best to pitch the idea first. And then if it's a good story, we can take it from there.
So how do they submit that? Do they just email it
Just
to
send it
you?
to me in an
Okay.
email. Just pitch me in an email. No,
Okay.
there's no formal process.
Oh,
Best
good
to
to know.
pitch me directly, and you could
Okay.
go through the website and send it to editor. I'll get it anyway.
Right.
But just just pitch me back the phone.
Okay.
Call me and say, got a great idea for a story.
Yeah.
And I'll say, well, maybe let's hear it.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, tell me about it.
You also mentioned that a newspaper is, your business is advertising.
That's right.
So you've sold advertising for your print, but you and I have also talked about selling advertising for the website, which is kind of a different way of doing it. So
It's yes and no. What's different is when I sell a print ad, I know I can rub it. I can get the ink on my hand. I know its size. I know where it's going to be in the paper. I can see it before it goes to the printer.
right.
When we're selling website ads, there are, first of all, fewer choices. And I've gotten pretty rambunctious with selling ads, and Pete actually had to kind of haul me up short this morning and say, can you please stop until I tell you to go again? And part of that is size. Every time he does an ad for the website, he has to do 2 ads. He has to do the website ad, and he has to do a mobile ad, because what goes on the website doesn't work.
Not all the time.
We side completely do it. Sometimes it's a whole new ad. So from that standpoint, I'm learning again, which is annoying sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm learning about the ads, and I've learned now, before I send out a proposal, I send it to Pete and say, can we do this? And then he'll email back and tell me, no, you need to say this or that or that. Or he'll email back and say, are you nuts? No.
I love how honest you guys are with each other.
Yeah, it works pretty well. Yeah, we don't have time. We don't have
Right.
time. Yeah.
Get to the point.
Yeah. So from that standpoint, there's a shift in the product that I'm selling is this little piece of the website. And it's not always in the same place, because it depends on where the stories fall and where the paragraphs fall. So I have to kind of sell this vagueness sometimes, which is uncomfortable for me.
What type of advertisers do you look for?
All of them. Anybody that's got something to sell.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Any ad, every ad needs a call to action. They need a hook. I will print your business card ad. I'll take your money.
Right.
But that's not going to get clicks.
Right. The click through is the biggest thing.
It's the click through. It's got to be they have to have a reason to click on that ad to go to your website to get all the information, because you can't put everything you do in this little bitty 300 by 600 rectangle.
No, it's small.
And you can't, most people put too much in it. And so we're trying to get them re-educated as to what makes a good ad. Less is more. But it's got to have punch. It's got to have a reason for someone to click through. A great offer, a prize, a trip, a sexy hook line, and I'm all kind of learning this too, because you didn't have to click on a newspaper ad, it was right there.
It was there.
Yeah. So I'm kind of learning this too.
No, it's all interesting. I think everyone's learning right now. Businesses might be even learning what type of ads should I be putting in a newspaper or online or whatever it may be. Like, what does look best for us? And I even see it too with my e-blast ads. Same thing. I try to tell people, don't put a lot of words. A visual is best. The call to action, you want people to click. So
call to action, a good photograph, and lots of white space. And that's so hard to convince people that are paying for space in a place. That white space is good. Man, they want to use every bit of real estate they can. They want bursts and a sale and a thing. No, just keep it simple. 5 words.
Keep it simple. I'm with you on that.
It's good. It's good for our advertisers, because it really forces them to have to think about what they're do.
Very good point.
What they do.
What am I trying to convey?
Tell somebody in 5 words or less, what do you do and why should they call you? And it's hard. It's hard for people. So we're working through it. We have some people that are some advertisers that are way ahead of us, and they're teaching me as we go. We have others that we're basically just kind of kicking our way through it together.
Yeah. So prior to you going completely digital, the Pioneer serves all of Concord and Clayton, correct?
Right.
So how many households were you delivering to?
38,500.
Wow, that's a lot.
That includes Clayton, 5,000 in Clayton.
Okay.
Actually, probably we delivered actually about 36,500 because we dropped site at least a couple thousand or more. And then we dropped site about 4,000.
Right, okay. Like we're one of your drop sites that if anyone comes
the
to our
library,
office,
the chamber,
right.
the
City,
the Harvest House, the city, EJ Fair, Cream. So
all the places you want to. And so what has your website viewership been like since the shelter in place then?
Holy cow. That's the most gratifying thing of this whole digital thing. You know, you do a newspaper, you put the ads in, it looks really, really good. You're so excited and you throw it all, 38,000 of them around. You have no idea what happens on the other end. After you throw that paper, you don't know what happens. Right. You just pray somebody picks it up and reads it, With the website, it's instant gratification for those junkies like us, man. I can sit there and watch the ticker moving, and go, whoa, look at that, yeah. So, keep going. From that standpoint, that part of it's really fun. And what is our website done? We've tripled this year. Wow, we have 45,000. We had 45,000 visits in the last 28 days. Wow. So that's not just because of us, although we're good, but it's not just because of us. News consumption has doubled and tripled everywhere, every site, every newspaper, every website, since the virus hit. Everyone's looking for that information out there. Everybody's looking for something better than what they just read. And they'll just keep reading too. Yeah. So what do you envision for the Pioneer after the shelter in place and all of this? I have no idea. Literally, we are sustainable through at least through June, maybe July, and unless we increase build our revenue back up and our advertisers come back, and which I think a lot of them will. Some, a few probably won't, but I think a lot of them will. We just have to rebuild those ads in a better way, in a different way. Our real estate ads and things, we're working on that. Our Pioneer Homes page, when we post a real estate ad, we post them one at a time, not a full, the full page with all the little properties. That will go in the print issue, but that doesn't work on the web. No, what works is an individual listing. We post that individual listing on Facebook, and that drives them to our website with a full description, with a click through to their website for even more pictures and more description. We've had 2 of those real estate ads be the highest. Smart News has picked them up, and they've been our highest read stories for the day. People love real estate ads. People love them. Think about how many people there are that cruise realtor.com like it's a dramatic series. Yeah, hello. People love to look at houses, so show them houses. It's that simple. That's interesting. That's interesting that the real estate piece has been picking up to that. People click. Man, I click on every real estate ad I see on Facebook. I click on them all. The old houses, the big house, the little houses, the junky. I click on them all. I go through with that stuff. I could fix this, but this house is perfect. Yeah, but I could do this with this house. Exactly. I go through and say, oh man, I'd paint those cupboards right away. People love that. So that's how I am too. Grab them on Facebook and Instagram, man. So can you tell us what stay visible, stay calm, stay connected is and how you came up with that? Oh, that was my advice to myself. And I think even Pete said that to me in the beginning. He said, don't go away, stay calm, breathe, talk to people. So that's, how do you say that in a little bitty ad? Stay visible. Don't get dark. Don't go away. Don't let people forget who you are. Right. And I know that budgets have shrunk to nothing, but if you have plans of continuing your business on the other side of this thing, you can't let people forget about you. Memories are short. So we're trying to find ways to really reduce the rate and really reduce it for chamber members to get an ad, get it up on our website. Let us promote it on Facebook so you don't go dark. you know,
Right.
for 2 or 3 months and have to start from scratch. Especially advertisers that are consistent with us, they've built up a recognition. They've built up some loyalty. They've invested in this, and
Right.
you don't start all over again, you know, on the other side. So that was the stay visible. And stay calm was Pete talked me back from the cliff about every 40 minutes. Oh, this is stupid. This is not going to survive. I don't want to do this. We're going to, you know, Pete'd say, will you just send me, just send me Warner Tree's ad, please.
Right.
And we'll talk later. He's very, very calm. And Jay too. And Jay's going through a tough time because his business is event planning. He puts on festivals.
Yeah.
Holy cow. I'm glad I'm not Jay. And I worry about him, and I, you know, hope that we can support him. And then I'll stay calm, stay connected. It's a part of stay visible. Talk to people, go to the BRG meetings, go to the chamber mixers, get out of your office, get out of that room, put your mask on, walk around, get out.
Psychic Brewing, I think that's also great advice, even for starting a new business, but even if you are a business currently, all of those things are so true. I mean, we have to stay calm. Kevin will attest that crab feed for the chamber is a crazy time, and Tamara, you can too. I'm a crazy person.
Crab feed. I've watched you for the third year. I just get out of her way, people.
So I need to stay calm in that.
Calm is probably not the word. Collected. You were collected. You went all over the map. But that was not the time I wanted to ask you about your summer plans.
So staying calm, but staying visible and staying connected, like Tamara said, those kind of go together. But just staying out in front of people. And sometimes you might have to push yourself to get to those places that, you know, you might say, you know what, I don't know if I want to go tonight to the mixer or whatever it may be. But you never know, and William says this all the time, you never know who you're going to meet. It doesn't matter what the topic is, it's the people in the room.
That's right. And it may not be income generating right then. It may be months later that somebody pulls your card out, or somebody gets an idea and says, oh, wait, you know, there's a local paper. Why don't you talk to them? I saw them at the chamber. So yeah, I attribute probably, I don't do any other networking except the chamber. I don't have any networking groups that I belong to. The chamber is plenty if you go to everything, but it doesn't do you any good if you just sit home and say, I don't want to go to that. If you get your fanny out of the chair and, you know, put some makeup on, clean up, and go, and take your business cards. I've been known to show up with no business cards. Take your business cards and then just talk to people. You don't even have to stay very long.
Right. I mean, even find one of us. Tamara is one of our ambassadors, and she's a board member. So you can even go find those people and say, hey, look, you know, I'm not really in the mood tonight. Are there people here you think I should meet? And then by the end of the mixer, you'll be meeting the entire room. Yeah.
And I know, being in this business, I know a lot of people. So I can usually point you to somebody.
You're a great resource.
Diane Covington is the other. She's the queen of networking. I've never known anybody like Diane. So yeah,
we'll have to get Diane on here.
Yeah,
she's a good one.
Yeah.
So for you, you've been in the industry for, you know, since you were young with your dad, kind of seeing all that. And you've owned this paper for 18 years. What are the top 3 headlines or stories that you've written about?
Wow, you asked me that, and I've been thinking. There's the ones that I like the best, and then there's the ones that were actually the biggest stories. One of the biggest stories was the districting in Concord.
Okay, which happened a few years ago.
And recently, the Concord Naval Weapons Station dump. That was one of the hardest stories I've ever written. Honest to God, one of the very, very hardest. There was just so much there.
Yeah.
And technically, you know, data and facts and check everything and check dates. Yeah. It took forever. I thought I was never going to finish that story. Those are kind of the recent ones. I did one early on that I just really loved the story, and unfortunately both of the people have since passed on. But it was about a ship. The God, what was the name of that ship? My old age memory. But it was about a ship that was actually shot down during World War II off the coast of Malta, that was kept a secret for many, many years because the Navy did not want to admit that that ship was shot. The U.S. government wouldn't admit it. It was not documented anywhere until just shortly before I met the two subjects in the story that told me about it. And then they sent me some material, and yes, it was beginning to come up, but those men had never gotten their Purple Hearts. They had never gotten their veteran. They never got the recognition that they went down and spent the night in the water. And I'll look it up. I'll try to put it up on our website. I'm drawing a blank right now. It's the name of the ship. It was a British ship, and it was U.S. and British sailors on it. And doing that story it was early on in the paper, and it was so personal to these people, so historic and so monumental. This story was so monumental to these people that were involved. Bill Caskey lived in Clayton. So he was the sailor. So I think that's one that has just stayed with me all the years. And then the one that I liked the best was I did a ride along with a cop. He's also passed on, with a Clayton cop, Tim O'Hara. Probably a lot of people know Tim. Tim died about 3 months ago. But I did a ride along really early on. And one of the questions that I asked him was, what's the hardest case? What's the hardest call you've ever been on? And he said, a SIDS baby.
Oh, wow.
That was not what I expected. This guy was a Pittsburgh cop. It was a cop's cop. And he said, a SIDS baby. It was the hardest. And that just got me.
Yeah.
And then my grandson wanted me to ask, because he knew I was going to be riding along with a cop, and he couldn't go. He was not happy. He said, ask him how many times you've used his gun. Ask him. And so I asked him, I said, how many times you've fired your gun? Never.
Wow.
This was a 30-year cop who had never, he said, I've unbuckled it, but no, he said, I've never fired.
Never.
Now that's a cop. I'm sorry, that's a cop. That tries because of a SIDS baby, and that was the hardest thing, and never fires his gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's probably one of my favorite stories.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be cool if you could reshare those, if you can find them.
I have Tim's, because I was going to do an obituary. Tim was a friend, and it was just really one of those stories I just put off, and I don't want to do it, and I did. And so I think what I'll do is I'll follow up with this, with the fact that yes, he did pass away 3 months ago, and this just share the story. Here's the story we did early on, because it was a nice piece.
Yeah. Wow. All right, Tam, just a couple more questions before we head out. What is the pioneer, excuse me, what is the pioneer best at in our community?
Probably staying alive. Really, staying alive. Yeah, we're still on our feet. We're balancing on a 2x4 in the middle of the ocean, but we're still on our feet. I think probably just building community, although you and I talked about that's an uphill battle in Concord because it's so diversified. Concord's strength is also its biggest challenge. The fact that it's so diversified is such a strength. I love it, but it's also hard to create a central community identification, which is what you need for a chamber, for a newspaper, for a town. And what are we best at? Probably aiming towards that goal. I don't know that we've ever reached it, but the print newspaper anyway. I used to call it social media the old-fashioned way because the paper was thrown on every 38,000 doorsteps. Everybody got it at the same time. Everybody was reading it at the same time. The neighbors were saying, oh my God, did you see Jack's kid is going to Harvard? Or they're saying, that house down the sale, did you see what they're selling that piece of crap for? It was a community participation.
Yeah.
The internet is not. You're on your phone by yourself. So
especially right now,
we're going to have to make a shift to building community through the internet, which is what every single person that has any business on the internet is trying to do.
Absolutely.
It's just a challenge. So
I would also say from my personal standpoint and from the chamber that you do a really good job, like you said earlier, fact checking, and your stories I feel are so accurate and have so much information that you're the resource that I do want to go to when I want what's really happening and getting those facts, that I know it'll be in your newspaper.
Thank you. Thank you, because we work hard at that. Like I said earlier, you know, I do a monthly or twice a month. It used to be twice a month. I don't want to be first. I just want to be right. I want to be the one that's right with the story. So, you know, we don't cover breaking news, but we'll come in afterwards and see what was the impact on the community, who was affected, what's the lasting results of whatever this story was, this thing that happened. I'm not going to report something 3 days later that was on the internet as it was happening.
Right.
People don't need me to tell them that there was a carjacking downtown or a building burn. They don't need that. They already know that. But how did that affect the community? Who got hurt in the carjacking? What do the cops have to say about that? That's what's interesting.
And I agree. This totally relates. William said, Tamara, you have a lot of heart. And I completely agree with that. I think you showing the lasting effects of whatever you're writing about, whatever the topic is, does show how much you actually care about the community and what you're putting into it.
Well, and it's not all altruistic. I got to live in this community too. So, you know, yeah, I got to show up the next day after that story. You know, so, you know, I hate to be called wrong, and we've made mistakes now. We've made our share, and I hate it when somebody points out. It's not so bad a typo. I don't really care, because you go on, you read any news, it's full of typos. We do great. We do 40,000 words an issue, and we do an amazing job with proofreading and punctuation. But if I've got an incorrect fact, that goes to the heart. That's a stake to the heart. So we do. Bev is a wonderful fact checker.
Yeah, you guys do.
Which can be annoying sometimes to people.
I'd rather you be right, though, than, like you said, not right.
Yeah. And if I can't do a good job, if I don't have the resources for the research and the primary source stuff, I don't want to do the story at all.
You've been a huge community partner for us too, and we appreciate everything that you do for our businesses in the community. It's a huge piece, especially wanting to advertise for them and get the word out about them.
Thank you. And advertising is what sustains us and supports us. So I've gotten I've gotten pretty straightforward about people sending me stuff to put on the paper. Oh, can you get this in the paper? Yeah. Can you buy an ad? Oh, we don't have any budget. Well, neither do we. So we're having to cut down a lot of what we do for free, because it takes staff time to do it. If somebody, for example, if somebody sends us an item, just a fundraiser, we have to format that. Bev has to fact check it. URLs sometimes don't work. Phone numbers are wrong. And this is just a small blurb for the calendar. That's about a 35-minute job.
Right.
That I'm paying people to do, you know, and people will send things that they want. They'll send things that they want that they think is an interesting story, but essentially it's promoting their business.
Right.
And, you know, and I take gas for that a lot. People, I've gotten really kind of cranky about it. People will say, but it's a really interesting community story. And I said, it's promotion for your business. Right. Well, but it's interesting. Isn't that your job? And I said, no, it's not. It's not my job to pay somebody to come out and promote your business. Right. And it takes them a minute to kind of figure that out. And sometimes they get a little snotty about it. And so do I, but we try not to. But yeah, it tries my patience sometimes with the amount of free stuff that's requested. And then, you know, we don't have any budget for advertising. So. Right. Hey, I'd love to do it. I want to do it. Man, you buy an ad with us and we jump through every hoop there is. We will promote, we will write, we will do the story, we will put it on Facebook, but we don't do that for free.
Right. But I also think that keeps value in what you do. It's not that you're just handing out free everything, that there's a value to it and it works and it's proven to work.
And we intend to stay in print in some form. It probably isn't going to be the same as it was. Just because the cost is huge of printing 38,000 newspapers and throwing them on people's lawns, you know. I think for June and July, what we're going to try is rotating the routes. Clayton will always get every copy because it's postal, and I'm every door direct permit, and it has to go to every door direct. So like it or not, Clayton gets them all. And then in Concord, we're looking at kind of dividing up the routes. The part of them, half of the routes get the paper 1 month, and the other half get the next month. People aren't going to like that. I don't like it. So, but that's a huge cost. Our biggest cost is printing, delivery, and people. Right. We don't really have any other costs in that. It's our personnel, our professionals, and the delivery and printing all those newspapers.
Right.
So we're going to try that. So if anybody has any other ideas about, where the paper should go and who should get it. At the same time, if we continue that, we will offer paid subscriptions so that you can be certain of getting your paper every single month. Okay. But I have to make sure that we're going to continue that, because I don't want to sell a subscription for a year and then we decide we're not going to do print. So
right.
we don't know. But that's the plan right now. It may change in by 6:30, but yes. right now that's the plan.
Okay. All right, everyone. Again, I am so sorry that we got dropped off. Now I know an hour is my max before we get cut off. But I do want to thank you, Tamara, again, for everything that you do for our community.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is
coming on.
I love doing this. Yeah.
And if anyone wants to, if they want to advertise with them, with the Pioneer, let Tamara know. Her email is Tamara@Pioneer Publishers, right? Publishers.
Yeah, more than one publisher. Publishers. Yes.
And her contact information is also on the website, so you can find it there.
Website, yeah.
But definitely check it out. She has a lot of good stories on there.
And we're really trying to be as flexible as we possibly can. So people say, well, what are your rates? And I say, what can you pay?
Right.
Let's talk. Right now, we're trying to be as flexible and give our advertisers and our businesses as much support as we can and stay alive. I don't even want to make a profit right now, Melissa. I just want to stay alive for the short term. Yeah.
Well, we hope you stay alive. We love our local community.
We're gonna work. We're working at it. So thank you. I love the chamber. As I said, I don't do any other leads generating. Nothing else has ever been effective. This is always, and I like all the people too. All of them. Usually there's some jerk you don't like. I don't know any jerks. There's no jerks in the chamber.
We have a good chamber.
Yeah, no jerks. So
all right, everyone. Thank you, everyone. We will talk to you next Monday. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye.